Most people decide whether they stay broke or build wealth within 24 hours of getting paid, not over a lifetime of choices, not through some complicated investment strategy. In one day. The 24 hours after a paycheck lands is the most financially consequential window in anyone's month. Most people don't treat it that way, and that difference, how you handle those 24 hours, is almost everything.
Setup. Here's what most people do when a paycheck arrives. They check the balance, feel a brief sense of relief, and then they start spending from the top. Rent, bills, but also a dinner out to celebrate making it through the month, a subscription that auto-renewed, a purchase that felt reasonable in the moment. 24 hours later, a third of the paycheck is committed, not to their future, to the immediate present. This is not a discipline problem. It is a sequencing problem. The people who quietly accumulate real wealth across ordinary incomes don't have more self-control when the paycheck lands. They have a different order of operations, and the order, compounded over years, produces completely different outcomes.
Beat 1. The broke payday. Watch what the typical payday looks like, transaction by transaction. Paycheck lands. Balance looks strong. Rent, car payment, utilities, the big numbers leave first. The balance looks smaller, but still manageable. Then the spending that doesn't feel like spending begins. A dinner, because it was payday, because you earned it. Gas, groceries, reasonable, necessary. A subscription charged automatically. A purchase that was already half decided before the paycheck hit. Each of these has a reason. None of them feel extravagant. But together, by the time 48 hours have passed, the paycheck has been entirely allocated. Not saved, not invested, allocated to the present. The account will look exactly the same in 30 days when the next paycheck arrives. This is not a cash flow problem. It is a sequencing problem that produces a cash flow result. The money always arrives. The money always leaves. The difference between staying broke and building wealth isn't the size of the paycheck. It's what happens to it first.
Beat 2. The celebration leak. The most expensive payday habit isn't rent. It isn't bills. It's the celebration layer. Most people reward the act of getting paid. A meal out, a small purchase, something that marks payday as different. Not because they're reckless, because payday actually feels different. After 2 or 3 weeks of watching the balance shrink, seeing it full again produces a real emotional response. And that emotional response triggers spending. The problem isn't the dinner. The problem is the timing. Celebration spending that happens before the investment treats the paycheck as a reward to consume. Wealth builders treat the paycheck as a resource to deploy. The person who celebrates after investing is celebrating with money that was always theirs to enjoy. The person who celebrates first is spending the money that was supposed to work for them. The balance looks identical at the time of the dinner. The outcome at 55 looks nothing alike. The 24 hours after payday aren't just the first day of the month, they are the moment where the trajectory gets set. Here is what the other sequence looks like, the one that produces a different outcome, in the exact order it needs to happen. Beat 3. The wealthy payday sequence. The wealthy payday has a sequence. It doesn't require more money, it requires a different order. The first transaction is the investment, not after rent, not after bills, not after groceries. First, a specific amount, decided in advance, not in the moment, transferred to an investment account automatically. No decision required in the moment, no willpower spent. The money moves before the emotional response to the balance can override it. That is the most important feature of the system. Willpower is unreliable. Automation is not. Second, fixed necessities. Rent, utilities, insurance, every recurring obligation with a fixed amount. Third, variable necessities. Groceries, gas, the predictable costs that shift slightly month to month. Fourth, everything else. Not whatever's left, a specific budgeted number. Decided in advance, not derived from whatever the balance happens to show. In this sequence, the investment is never optional. It is never the line that gets cut when something unexpected arrives. It already moved. It is already working. The rest of the month runs on what remains. Most people spend first and try to invest what's left. There is almost never anything left.
Beat 4. Why 24 hours decides the decade.
The argument against this is always the same. My paycheck isn't big enough to invest first. I'll start when I earn more. 1 month won't matter. Each of these is technically true. 1 month doesn't matter. But the person saying this isn't making a 1-month decision. They are making a 12-month decision, repeated every year for a decade. The person who invests first on every payday, starting with $100, has contributed $12,000 in 10 years, before any returns. At a 10% average annual return, that $12,000 becomes $20,484. The person who planned to invest what was left contributed far less than that, because there was rarely anything left. The gap isn't in the income. The gap is in the sequence. And the sequence is decided in the first 24 hours. Every single month. For years. The people who arrive at 55 in completely different financial positions weren't earning dramatically different incomes at 30. They were following a different order of operations on payday. Beat 5. The one change. This does not require a financial overhaul. It requires one change to the order. Before the next paycheck lands, set one automatic transfer. A specific amount, not a percentage of what's left. A fixed number that moves the same day the paycheck arrives. $50 if that's what the account can hold. $200 if it can hold more. The amount matters, the timing matters more. When the transfer fires on payday, before anything else, the investment is no longer competing with dinner and subscriptions for the same dollars. It already happened. The rest of the month operates on what's left. And something notable happens within a few months. The spending adjusts to the new number. Not dramatically, not painfully, because the lower balance becomes what feels normal. And normal is what gets spent. When the investment comes out first, normal is a smaller number. The lifestyle adjusts quietly. The investment compounds quietly. No drama, no willpower required after the setup. Just time doing what time always does to money that's been left alone.
Most people treat payday as a finish line, the relief of a balance that looks full again. The people quietly building real wealth treat payday as a starting line. The moment the system activates, the first transaction that decides everything that follows. It takes 20 minutes to set up. It requires no decision after that. And it changes the outcome completely. Not because the paycheck grew, but because the sequence did.
The people who retire without fear of money are not the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who, on every payday for years, made the investment the first transaction. Not the last, not the optional one, the first. While everyone else spent first and tried to save what remained, they saved first and lived on what remained. That is the entire strategy. Remember that.